We're going to go 7 through 1. No surprise who 1's going to be. Some names I want to learn about here, starting off at number 7.
Sure.
Though. Another Buckeye. What do you have?
Yeah, Draymond Jones. A guy that, okay, first of all, this is an unbelievable group of football players. I think that's where we got to start out. But Draymond Jones, I mean, you're talking about a guy 6'3", 281, ran a 5.12 in the 40, plays faster than that, more athletic than that. You know, not a space eater type of guy as far as a defensive tackle is concerned. I wrote down as a comparison Malik Jackson, okay? That's the kind of guy he looks like to me. Kind of that hybrid 3 technique, be able to move him out to defensive end at times and do that. Going to be more of a guy who wins through disruption and wins with his athleticism. I mean, for a defensive tackle, he's got a little bend coming around the edge, which is rare to see. He's got incredibly quick side-to-side movement. When he gets in one-on-one situations with guards and things like that, he can literally juke them out to make his moves to go get the quarterback. All of that is really good. But he's not going to be the type of guy that's going to sit in there and just hunker down and, oh, we're going to make a mosh pit in the middle of the field to stop the run game and 3 people are it's going to take to move him and do that. No, he's not that type of guy. But he's got extremely good hands. I mean, what I would call, this is what I call is grip and rip move, where he gets his hands on guys like this and then rips them out of the way and gets quarterback. It's some of the best I've seen in the draft, as far as stuff like that, with his hands and arm strength and things like that. Very special. I don't think this kid's a first rounder, but I think he goes on somewhere in the second round, somewhere between 35 and 62. This group is
a heck
strong.
of a class if number 7 is worth
this is
early second round pick.
This is some group of position guys here. It really is special.
Okay, Draymond Jones, Ohio State at 7, moving up to 6. We go from the Big Ten to the SEC.
Yeah, we're going to the SEC here, and we're going to a guy who really is probably higher than this, okay? And this is Jeffrey Simmons, and I'm going to flip to my notes here as we go through it. But Jeffrey Simmons, for all you out there, first of all, tore his ACL, okay? So recently, and working out and preparing for the combine. And so that's a little concerning, certainly. But the guy is a good football player. I think, and when we get done with this rankings, I'll tell you where I would have probably slipped Jeffrey Simmons in here if he was totally healthy. He is a first-round talent. He's really a guy that's probably a top 20 pick in the NFL draft talent. I think there's still a really good chance he goes in the first round, despite all this. 6'4", 301, rocked up athletic guy. Now, I mean, he's rocked up. You can see the muscles. You can see the hamstring striations, and then you can see his butt, everything. I mean, he's great, a great twitchy athlete who can be disruptive, shoot into the backfield. Now, there are issues that concern me. Okay, one of the issues is I think he's a made-up 301 pounds. That concerns me a little bit. Like, I think he's a guy that if he didn't lift weights religiously and really was obsessed with the weight room, he'd probably be 280 pounds, 285 pounds. That's
what did you see that makes you think that?
What makes me see that is not a lot of great natural strength always. If I had to knock a negative on his game a little bit, it is double teams were not like his cup of tea. When he gets double teamed, he can be moved around. If he gets around a good guard who's got a little athleticism to match him and they get their hands on him, he can be overpowered in that type of situation too. So I think those are my negatives about him. But he's a 3-technique type of football player who is going to win through disruption more times than not. He's a special athlete, but I was a little less impressed with his power and his ability to anchor versus some running schemes where he had to take on a double team or a down block or whatever it may be. But again, rare to have somebody 6'4", 301 that can move and be as twitchy as he can, and I think that's the value of him. He's a 4-3 defensive guy, right? He's a 4-3 defense in the NFL, 3 technique, you know, someone who's going to shoot in the backfield, Grady Jarrett, but he's a little bigger than that. But it's along those lines of a type of player.
He's so talented and such potential. You could see a team using a first-round pick late on a guy who just tore his ACL in the last couple months?
I do. Yes, I do. I mean, and again, this is where knowing the player off the field a little bit, what kind of work ethic does he have, all of those type of things. What kind of guy is he in general? Is he a fighter? You know, all of those things. Can he play through a little pain when maybe he's not feeling 100% early on in the season? All of those things will be taken into account on whether you take that chance at the end of the first round. But yes, he is worthy of that because if he was healthy, we'd be sitting here talking about him as a top 20 pick.
Draymond Jones, 7. Jeffrey Simmons at 6. No list is complete when you're talking about defensive front seven if you don't include somebody from Clemson. So let's go to number 5.
Yeah, number 5. And listen, I might be a little lower on this guy than some, but Christian Wilkins is where I'm going number 5. Now, again, I just would like to remind everybody here, we're talking about awesome football players, all right? We're being nitpicky about first-round prospects who are all studs, but we got to separate them. And to separate them, sometimes you have to bring up the negative aspects of their game, okay? Christian Wilkins is a starting defensive tackle in the NFL for a long, long time and has Pro Bowl capability. So I know it sounds weird when I go, damn, he's number 5. Okay, yeah, I was a little underwhelmed by his film overall. Now, there's some things that are truly awesome and elite. He is an extremely pliable, flexible guy for 6'3", 315 pounds. Man, to run 5.04 in the 40 at that weight is phenomenal. His change of direction. Now, people might want to say, like, what the hell does pliable and bendable and all those things even mean for a defensive tackle? Annie, it's that time. I'm standing up.
Third time.
Okay? So what I mean by that is, you know, okay, a Jeffrey Simmons who might be a little tighter and tighter wound, right? He can get in some positions like this and he goes down and over. Wilkins can get double team and be like this and somehow slide through it and come up and still be on his feet and make the tackle.
For everybody listening,
yes.
You say be like this, Chris is almost falling down.
Right, like in an awkward position. Like, oh man, I'd taken on a guy and somebody hit me from the side and now I'm like bent over at the waist in some weird spot. But yet he doesn't go down, he stays on his feet, and then makes a play.
Is that the pliability?
So that's the pliability, exactly right. So that's what makes him very impressive. You know, he can get skinny through gaps for a guy that's 315 pounds, really impressive. And I mean by that, he can kind of, you know, between the guard and the center, he times the snap count, and he can just get skinny and slide right through in a hurry. That's all impressive. Now, the thing I didn't like about him was his ability to anchor. And when I get back to the word anchor for everybody out there, I mean your ability to hold ground when you're being down blocked or double teamed. That's a huge thing to me. How bad are your negative plays, right? And not that these were bad, but for a guy with his size and his measurables, I was a little disappointed at his strength at the point of attack in those situations. He can be moved back a little bit in some of those type of plays.
That's something that'll stand out to these evaluators, maybe even more than the numbers, because a lot of times your defensive tackle isn't asked to go ahead and make the play. He's asked to hold his ground.
Yes, exactly right. So that to me, again, you know what changes him there too? So it takes him out of the conversation for being a shade nose or a nose tackle, because that's that guy, as you know, or anybody who studies defensive lineman out there, you want your nose tackle, your shade nose. He should be your most powerful football player on the team.
Just hold your spot.
Just hold your spot. I got 650 pounds pushing me. Oh, big deal. I'm just going to stand here and take them, and nobody's going to move me. Oh, I'm big and huge, and deal with it.
You just turn into your dad.
I know. That's what I always turn into my dad whenever I try to make. So, but yes, that is, I think, what bothers me about him. But man, are his quicks are special. I mean, his hand punch to overwhelm one-on-one blockers. And what I mean by that is he can get out of his stance and hit a offensive lineman in the chest right underneath the shoulder pads and show such great power that they get knocked off balance, and then he can just go at his will to the quarterback. All of that stuff is really special. But I think that the length and sheer power is a little bit of an issue. I don't think he can two-gap in the NFL in a 3-4 defense. And I wrote at the end of the day, the kid is awesome. He's a top 25 player for sure. He's an incredible athlete. He has the nose for the ball, and he has 3-down value. Which is important because he can push the pocket in the pass game. But he reminds me of Kawan Short, okay, for the Carolina Panthers. He's an awesome player. Yeah. Exactly right. But yes, I didn't think he was a top 10 talent or anything along those lines.
You said he's a top 25 player to you. What are the chances he's around for the Patriots with that last pick of the first round?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting because teams are going to value these guys differently according to their schemes. That's what's going to be really interesting with these defensive tackles. But I think there's slight possibility he could be there. I mean, if you maybe bet, I'm saying he's off the board by the time the Patriots are there.
Yeah.
But if 1 or 2 moves happens unexpectedly, all of a sudden some guy can slide 10, 12 picks, and there he is for New England, and he would work certainly for the New England Patriots and what they want to do.
All right, look down from 5 to 4. Looks like the Cotton Bowl, Clemson to Notre Dame. Jerry Tillery showing up at 4. And if you think Wilkins is a late first-round pick, you think Tillery's a first-round pick as well?
I do. And Jerry Tillery just was better to me than I expected. Even
All the time or just at times?
all the time, you know. And again, so Jerry Tillery, this is the guy, first of all, the guy I would compare him to is DeForest Buckner of the San Francisco 49ers. He was a top 10 pick. Now, I don't think he's quite as good as DeForest was when he was coming out, but he's along those lines, his body type, style of play. The one thing I always worry about with guys this tall is their ability to take on down blocks or double teams, because you just can't have it all. You can't be perfect in every area. And for taller guys, they usually have issues there.
6'6" is
6'6", right. And he plays kind of tall at times. And when I first turned on the film, he was getting moved around a little bit early in the year where I just was like, damn, okay, this is not good. And then he was on the ground a few times. Being on the ground is a huge negative in the scouting world at the defensive line position. Why, you might want to ask, okay, just to give everybody a little knowledge on that. Because if you're on the ground, you can hurt somebody on your own team, fall on an ankle, you break the other defensive tackle's leg, whatever it may be. Nobody likes that.
You're not making a play.
You're not making a play. That's number two, exactly right. And number three, if you're on the ground, you might be stopping somebody else on your team from making the play because you're on the ground and now they've tripped over you, even though they see the running back come into the hole, and you mess up everything for everybody.
You said that was early in the season?
Early in the season.
Did it happen later?
But he got better with it as the year went on.
Yeah.
And he is a disruptive player.
Dominated Stanford. Remember
dominated Stanford. Yeah. Dominated a lot of people, more than I even thought when I was sitting there in person. But, you know, again, in one-on-one situations against interior defensive linemen, he's unblockable at times. I think that's the thing I really was just blown away about. He's not the type of like defensive tackle you want on the inside in goal line or short yardage situations. That's not the type of guy he is. But when it's first and second down in the middle of the field, man, I mean, don't be shocked if just, you know, I mean, Jerry Tillery splits through the defensive line and gets in the quarterback's way. Might not get a stat, but he had a FTP where he f***ed something up and now the play was ruined. That's where I got really intrigued by him. He has a knack for slipping or sliding off one-on-one blockers. I was just impressed with his ability to disengage in some of those. Okay, I got a guy blocking me. Okay, the running back's coming right here to my right shoulder. Let me throw the guy off me real quick and make the tackle. He was phenomenal at that. He keeps his eyes in the backfield that I thought were really impressive. He's got great hands in the pass rush, and because he moves so well, he's extremely hard to block when defenses do stunts and twists and things like that. You know, he's a very athletic 295 pounds. He ran 4.93, and I think that's the thing I like about him a lot. He's a good football player, and I said DeForest Buckner's the guy I compare him to.
Did he have any stretches? I only ask this because when a guy is that talented and plays a lot throughout the years like he has in the last 3 or 4 years, did you notice stretches where he kind of disappeared for a while? Because that was the knack coming into the year that, boy, he looks awesome sometimes.
Yes, right.
And then where is he for the next couple, 3 quarters?
Yeah, no, I had some of those worries too. And I think this year, I think he debunked those flaws. He really did. Because, yes, 2 years ago when we were doing games, you're right. There was games or quarters where you'd go, man, Jerry Tillery's awesome. And then I'd go, damn. Where the hell is he for the next 3 quarters? I think this year was a lot of quality play. Plus, he's got a lot of position versatility here, Burmeister. Okay, the thing I like is he could play 3 technique in a 4-3 defense. He could play 5 technique, for all those out there, a 5 technique, a 3-4 defense, where the defensive end lines up straight over the offensive tackle. This would be like the Richard Seymour position, right, in a 3-4 defense with the New England Patriots. Has to be a tall, long, strong guy who can two-gap, can straight arm, hold up an offensive tackle, not necessarily attack and get the ball, hold his ground, read the play, disengage when you know where the play is going. That's what a 3-4 defense has to do. So he can do all 3 of those things, which is going to make him appealing to 2 different types of defenses in the NFL, which I think add to his draft value.
I remember sitting in Brian Kelly's office, I think it was late August, in there for a training camp trip. And I said, Coach, tell me one thing that you know about your defense. Number one thing that comes to mind. And he said, Jerry Tillery is going to be disruptive all the time.
Exactly.
And it's some real players on that defense last year.
They did.
For him to be the number 1 compliment and then to come through the way he did during the season, a lot of people feeling the same way you do about number 90.
Hey, again, I know I'm going to say this probably 3 more times, but again, there's just not a lot of people on planet Earth that's 6'6", 295 who can move around like Jerry Tillery. That's where the eliteness comes in this conversation.
You've got a line now. We've been 7 through 4. Draymond Jones, Jeffrey Simmons, Christian Wilkins, Jerry Tillery. There's a ... space dividing line between 4 and 3, which is Jerry Tillery at 4 and Ed Oliver at 3. Why the big difference?
Well, because it's not a big difference, but I think there is 3 classes or 3 tiers here of the players, and Ed Oliver is just an out-of-this-world special specimen. I mean, that's where it starts. He's like the Tasmanian devil as far as interior defense alignment. And the film, Paul, is not always awesome because he's playing out of position. He's a guy that he weighed in at 287 pounds. I bet you he didn't play at 287 pounds.
So he was playing what position?
Nose tackle.
Wow.
Yeah, which is not for the guy that is the most athletic guy on your defense in the NFL. That's just not what you do. So you're going to see some negatives. It's a little bit of a projection with Ed Oliver. But Ed Oliver is one of the freakiest athletes at any position in the whole draft. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. He's got a lot of Aaron Donald, Geno Atkins type of style about him, right? A guy that, okay, yeah, he's not going to be, again, a space eater. He's not going to hold his ground versus double teams all the time. But, man, if you're one-on-one with him or he's got a beat on your snap count, holy cow, his get-off and his ability to shoot through a gap is as good as you're ever going to find in the NFL, let alone, okay, he's on the interior part of the defensive line and he's kind of standing up. His ability to kind of side shuffle down the line of scrimmage when the ball bounces outside and then be able to go and run down running backs on the edge of a defense is like a middle linebacker in the NFL.
Top 10 pick?
Yes, he is a top 10 pick. He is a top 10 prospect. Whether he goes in the top 10 or not, I don't know, but I think he'll be right on that fringe there. He is a 4-3 guy all the way. No 3-4 team's going to like Ed Oliver. You know, the 3-4 teams believe in size. Right. Ed Oliver is a speed guy all the way. But, yeah, I mean, you know.
Where would you like to see him? Like, best case scenario, you'd like to see him end up in which system with which pick?
You know, I think of teams like the Atlanta Falcons right off the bat there.
4-3 team.
A 4-3 team who loves athletic, disruptive people in the middle of their defense. Yeah, that's a team I look at and go, ooh, he got in the middle there with Grady Jarrett. Like, good luck trying to block those two all game long. But, yes, I mean, the athleticism, twitchy as hell, you know, playing out of position. The double teams, they're an issue, like I said, but it wasn't as bad as I expected, honestly, for the guy. You know, and really just an absolute freaky athlete. And the last thing is he is an incredible motor. And that is something to be talked about. It is like pedal to the metal every freaking play. And I put a lot of stock into that too. He's not going to die out on an 8-play drive and all of a sudden you got to take him out because he's exhausted. Right. He has good stamina for somebody that size.
You love this prospect. You say he's a top 10 pick, so I'm anxious to hear how much you like number 2, Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah.
If you like him better than Ed Oliver.
Yeah, I mean, Dexter Lawrence, and, you know, again, I pay attention to some of these rankings and everything out there. This is the guy I think everybody's missing out on right here.
Why is that?
I mean, because he's the best run stuffer in the draft, right? We talk about making a mosh pit, you know, being able to take on double teams, do all of that. Out of this world. He's 340 pounds. I mean, so from that standpoint alone, he's got great value, whether he's a shade nose tackle or a 3-4 nose tackle, it doesn't matter. Good luck moving him. But here's the other thing. His athleticism is as good as Christian Wilkins, who he's 25 pounds bigger than.
Right.
I mean, his athleticism is really elite for this size. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anybody 340 move the way Dexter Lawrence moves. His power, his upper body power, his ability to just come off the ball and just absolutely own people in a one-on-one situations. I mean, it's laughable at times if you and I watched it. It's funny. It looks like he's playing with kids at times.
How's the motor?
The motor is very good. It is. This might have been one of my favorite surprises of the whole draft. And like, I am sitting here because I don't want to miss anything in my notes or anything like that. The bad plays, they're never bad. I put a lot of stock in that. Like, to me, his bad plays are stalemates. And if stalemates are your bad plays, then I'm okay with it. You know, every now and then, you know, he's asked to stunt 3 gaps over and he might get pushed past that gap. Okay, that's great. I don't put any like stock into that. Nobody on planet Earth is going to be able to go, hey, we'd like you to run 8 yards to the right and stop on the dead dime with a 300-pounder on your back. Oh, okay, good luck with doing that. I don't care who you are.
He ran a 5:05.
Ran a 5:05.
At 340 pounds, you say?
Yeah, at 342 pounds.
Yikes.
Right, so 5:05, and we talked about a quarterback in Dwayne Haskins who ran 5:02, and that's why it's a concern. When a guy who's 109 pounds bigger than you is just as fast as you, that's an issue in the NFL. I just want to make sure I hit it all. So, I mean, 3 down value. I mean, that's the other thing. He is a phenomenal pass rusher. Why would you take him off the field is what I wrote. His ability to push the pocket is special. He's got great get-off. His ability to shock offensive linemen with a great punch to the upper body is as special as I've ever seen. His strength to get under the pads with his hands and push and dominate people back is special.
Why do you think he's falling for a lot of people?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know,
nothing you saw would suggest that?
I don't see anything that would suggest that. You know, again, I just question, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to say. And again, I don't have like any knowledge of teams that are in love with him or anything like that. I don't really care what teams say to this point.
You just know what you saw.
I just know what I saw, and I've been around some good defensive tackles, and I just saw a lot of special elite attributes about this guy.
Could he play nose in the 3-4?
He definitely. He could play nose. I think that's the other thing too. He could do everything. A little bit like the last guy, or you know, we talked about Jerry Tillery being able to play different positions. Dexter Lawrence could be a straight nose tackle or a shade nose in a 4-3 defense. I think he could be a 3 technique in a 4-3 defense. And if you wanted to put him outside and for a 3-4 defense where he's just head up on a tackle, which he did at times for Clemson because they do some 3-4 stuff, he can do that. He's the best 2-gapper there is in this. So he is going to be good in any defense. And he is I just thought, a really, really special player.
What makes Quinnen Williams #1 better than guys that you clearly love at 2 and 3 and Lawrence and all of them?
Yeah, well, Quinnen Williams, I think since I've been in this business, okay, which let's just say the 2010 season or 11 season is where I started to go, okay, I'm going to start watching film because I'm not playing football anymore and I'm a psycho and this is what I like to do. I think Quinnen Williams is the best film I've ever seen for interior defensive linemen. Ever. Yeah, I mean, it's better to me than Aaron Donald's coming out of Pittsburgh.
Which part of it is better? Because, I mean, that people listening are going to hear that and maybe like, what?
Yes.
How's that possible?
Yeah, well, I think that there's just less negatives. Like Aaron Donald, I had some of like what I would have said about Ed Oliver a little bit. Like there were some issues at times where double teams, you know, a good guard gets a hold of him and he can get pushed around. And that's still the case in the NFL a little bit. Again, we talked about it on Monday. There's a reason the Rams were the 23rd or 25th ranked run defense in football. Again, nobody is perfect. But this guy was about as close to perfect as I can ever remember. I mean, really, one of my, you know, I wrote, okay, I'm just going to read this verbatim because this might be fun, is just an absolutely awesome athlete, awesome body for a guy who's 303 pounds. I mean, great legs, great butt, great low center of gravity, looks perfect. And then my next line was, I mean, holy shit, this kid is good. This disruption he creates is unreal. And I mentioned on a video we did, like, I had to get off the film a few times and go, wait, am I watching a highlight film or am I watching a game right here?
Yeah.
And he can do everything with double teams, beating people one-on-one, his ability in the pass rush inside, his ability to kind of, you know, slap and swim and go around guards and centers. I mean, he does it every other pass play. So, yeah, to me, there was just no negative about the player. It was a lot of production, disruption, whatever you want to say. His ability to hold ground in the double team situations and make a mosh pit of the running game, all of that were special. But I wrote, I mean, my next line, again, I'm swearing a lot today, I'm sorry, but my next line was, he's f***ing borderline unblockable. When one-on-one versus run or versus pass, forget it. Centers, guards have zero chance. I said I really thought I was going to see a guy who struggled versus double teams, but that's false. Handles double teams like he's a 320, 325-pounder. Think he's the best interior defensive lineman I've watched. It's better than Aaron Donald in college. Incredible at getting off blocks versus the run versus the pass. Has incredible side-to-side quickness to get on the edge of offensive linemen. A great swing move and can chase down the run from the backside and can also win with power. So...
Wow.
Does that kind of say it all?
It does.
Right? There's really nothing he can't do, is what I wrote down.
So let's take all that knowledge.
Yeah.
2 weeks forward,
Yeah.
Kyler Murray comes off the board.
Yeah.
You want just disruption on your front seven, specifically your front four. Do you take him over Bosa?
Oof. I think for most teams, yes. I think I would pick Quinnen Williams. I think Quinnen Williams is a better player than Nick Bosa. I like Nick Bosa. I would say Nick Bosa is number 3 for me. I think Quinnen Williams at the defensive line position, of course, you can affect more plays there. I think he's a better overall player on a play-by-play system than Nick Bosa. But again, I don't think he's going to be number 2 off the board because you got to look at the team who's number 2. And number 2 is the San Francisco 49ers, and they already have a plethora of defensive tackles. They've drafted, what, 3 defensive tackles out of the last 4 drafts, I believe, in Buckner, Eric Armstead, and Solomon Thomas.
Are any as good as him, though?
No, none of them are as good as him. They are not. And again, that is something for them to think
You think your
about.
buddy's going to bypass him just because they already have a couple?
I mean, I don't. I do. I think he'll bypass him. And if you made me bet, I think, yes, they're going to take a Nick Bosa at number 2. And because he's going to go, you know, we're pretty good at defensive tackle. I don't want to waste the value of my pick on that position. And now he's going to have 2 special rushers coming off the edge and D Ford and Nick Bosa to where he goes, okay, yeah, when we play the Rams, I feel good about us getting pressure on Jared Goff. And I feel like we can contain Russell Wilson now with these guys. So I think those are all positives.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.